Hello and welcome to Smoke and Mirrors here on AI in Games, where I review the games I'm playing in between video releases, and I'm going to talk about MachineGames' first-person shooter, Wolfenstein the New Colossus. Now, I'd originally intended to talk about Star Wars Republic Commando this month, but that hasn't happened. I mean, the video title probably gave it away. Sadly, my poor PC has been busy most evenings in recent weeks rendering out videos for both AI in Games and Table Flip Games, given I'm prepping everything before I take a short summer break. So yeah, I had to go find something on my current playlist to finish over on my Xbox. Released in 2017, it's the sequel to both the first game in this reboot, 2014's Wolfenstein The New Order, as well as the more supernatural mini-entry prequel thing, Wolfenstein The Old Blood from 2015. Set 5 months after the first game's end, Nazis have become the ruling class of America. Just let that political subtext sink in there for a minute. You're back as BJ Blazkowicz, having barely survived the closing moments of the first game, and you got to slowly rebuild your body, your resolve and your momentum as you take the fight to the enemy. Hence spending most of this game on American soil, fighting in the likes of New Orleans and Manhattan in order to build the resistance movement. One of the things that helped the New Order stand out was its writing. The characters felt realised and fleshed out in a way that typical genre fare like this, much less a first-person shooter, seldom reaches. I was happy to see this continue through, with Anya once again a critical character, BJ himself coming to terms with his own mortality, but also the welcome introduction of the likes of Grace and Sigrun. I did feel, however, that Fergus was a little underserved, given his plot threads seemed to play him up more for laughs than addressing his problems. I mean, sure, you could have picked Wyatt for the flashback scene, but why would you? Scottish or nothing, pal. But perhaps more importantly, the game explores a lot of the themes that tie heavily into fascist regimes and the systemic oppression they wield upon society. It goes beyond the simplicity of men and women in uniform. How quickly some corners of society will adopt the ideologies of their oppressors in an effort to protect what is theirs. This hits you from the very beginning of the game, as it explores how BJ and his mother Sophia suffered abuse at the hands of his father given his crooked and racist mindset, plus how quickly he sells out his Jewish heritage and his family to get what he wants in the Nazi world order. Speaks to the real issues of oppression and aggression laced throughout society, and how easily it can take control if left unchecked. It's heavy stuff at times, and sadly, a little too prescient as well. It's also shockingly violent and at times just outright mental. The story takes some pretty crazy turns, and it's difficult to keep your head straight at times with everything going on. Pun intended if you've played the game. But all that said, it allows you to get to the heart of the game and really enjoy its core selling point: shooting Nazis in the face with a variety of weaponry that makes it all the more satisfying. Much like the original, the gunplay is just great. The variety of weaponry provides you with different approaches to solving a problem, from stealthy headshots to running around with the assault rifle or just dual-wielding shotguns, my personal favourite. Can also be a little chaotic and unwieldy at times, particularly when playing on consoles, which I'm going to come to in a second, but the thing is, it's let down in some segments by the balancing of level pacing, enemy behaviour and the use of stealth mechanics. MachineGames pushed to expand on the original game, but the changes don't feel significant enough to really hold me. It was a concern of mine going in that the New Order felt decidedly fresh when it came out, so keeping that feeling of novelty while doubling down on what makes it unique might prove difficult. The game gradually provides a collection of augments and skill tree upgrades that clearly encourage both going on a highly aggressive push through each level, running around guns blazing until you reach your objective, or taking a more stealthy approach using silenced weapons, takedowns and sneaking through the space. In fact, a lot of the levels really gear towards it, given the officers littered around the map need to be taken out quietly, otherwise they spawn enemies and point everyone in your direction. But the level design combined with the enemy's sight tests, which seem way too sensitive at times, means you almost always wind up going loud. Much of this is the same as it was in the New Order, but I found visual feedback of a lot of these issues, including also where I'm being shot from, to be unclear and not that rewarding. This really doesn't help given the enemies are using hit-scan gunfire for the most part, and their accuracy can often be quite ruthless, and you take a lot of damage really easily. I'd actually go so far as to say that I wasn't particularly enjoying playing the game until maybe the halfway point, where you start unlocking more skills and abilities for BJ, and your weapons have probably received several upgrades. This actually kinda ties into the narrative as you're building momentum for the resistance movement, and I found the game a lot more enjoyable as it approached its end. That said, I did enjoy wrapping up the story, and have since gone on to polish off a lot of the side missions, and I'm now playing the DLC expansions, The Freedom Chronicles, which are quite fun and well written, as they focus on other heroes of the resistance movement. The game itself is a reasonable, albeit short, 8 hours or so when you line up the story missions, but the need to hunt down Uber Commandos and collectibles means you're encouraged to revisit previous levels, with some of them actually getting revamped for these new missions into something quite different. And as a result, I think I've got about 96% completion or something, and I've put about 20 hours into it. Before I wrap up, one thing that did catch me off guard, and I think ties into the issues with the stealth mechanics, is the overall rendering quality when running on consoles. The new Colossus uses the same dynamic resolution system as Doom 2016, given they both run on id Tech version 6. The dynamic resolution really comes into play in some of the more open levels on American soil, notably New Orleans and Manhattan. And the problem is that I found the game a lot more muddy as a result, as it strives to retain the frame rate. This is really problematic for me personally, because I'm colourblind, and so the amount of times I was being caught off guard by, well, guards was really frustrating for me. I actually took some time to record footage off the Windows 10 PC version as part of the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is annoying because I actually bought the game months ago and now you can play it for free, but whatever. And even on my admittedly aging and dying PC, it actually held up pretty well. It was actually a lot clearer and a little easier for me to see what I was doing. Plus, I surprisingly found it much easier to control on keyboard and mouse after having issues with the gamepad, which is funny given I play almost all the time on consoles. It has the same level of dexterity as Doom and the previous Wolfenstein, but I did find it harder to get to grips with this time around. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older or something. Alrighty, I'm going to wrap up this episode of Smoke and Mirrors. Despite the rocky start, I quite enjoyed Wolfenstein the New Colossus, but I still have some reservations about it that have tempered my enthusiasm for the third one, or even the pseudo-sequel Youngblood, also out this year. In the meantime, after my wee holiday, I'm going to come back and actually get that episode on Republic Commando out for y'all to watch. But hey, thanks for watching this episode on AI and Games. You can watch these episodes early by being part of the Patreon. There's a wee shameless plug for that. But yeah, stay safe, have fun, I'll be back.